What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Pod Scum. I am, of course, your host, Reckless Rex Ruger. That is, of course, the Freddie Mercury puppet. His teeth are out and in full effect. He's ready to go. Pops is looking down on me, proud as usual. I am, of course, the son of glam, a.k.a. the front man for the band, the peanut butter to your jam, loved and adored by the fans. Wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, Mr. Wop, Boppa, Loo, Boppa, Wop, Bam, Bam, Shazam, hot. I'm feeling good, and more importantly, I wanted to say I was looking good, but I can't seem to find my mirror, but here I go. Ooh, the trip over there to get the mirror was totally worth it. My guest is here. We're going to get down and chop it up with another killer episode, man. I can't wait. Old friend of the show. Let's get him on here and do it. Andy.
Yo.
Got him, man. I got him.
I'm in.
I know you are. Yep.
I'm just getting a drink real quick. So
take your time, man. Take your time, man. I can always entertain the masses. You know I'm Diamond David Lee Roth Jr., man. If I can't entertain the masses, and plus this will give me some propaganda to use in court when I'm trying to prove my case.
Oh, perfect. You
know that I am. You got to turn yourself the other way. You're sideways. There you go.
Is that okay?
No. You're on your side right now.
Oh.
Now you're right side up.
Will inverted work or no?
I don't know, because now you're upside down. That's so weird. Why does your phone look like it's right side up?
No, is that upside down?
You're upside down, yeah.
All right. I'm just trying to keep it plugged in. How's that?
That's perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Andy, It's good to have you back on again, man.
Yeah, man. It's great to be invited back. I remember what a great time we had last time.
Yeah. And I was watching that back a little bit, and my production value has obviously gotten so much better because I look at that and I think, God damn, I'm so fucking grainy in that episode, man. You look so much better than I do, and I'm the one hosting the damn thing, man. But at the time, it was I don't want to say embryonic stages, man, but I still had like 1 foot in and wasn't sure where it was going to go. So I hadn't invested in like a good webcam and a microphone. Right. And so I have since, but I mean, I didn't know at the time that I was going to get the awesome fucking guest I was going to get, you know?
Awesome. I still have the same shitty phone, so I hope it.
It looks good, and that's the thing. I mean, in our last episode, your audio. Well, I don't know about the audio, but your video looked way better.
All right.
I should have been doing my podcast with a phone.
I still have a home button on my phone. So
nice.
Yeah. Yes.
So and I got to first off say, man, that I'm glad my son, shout out to my son for clearing this up for me, man. I knew there was another band that me and him saw in concert once years back that had War in it. And I think for a lot of years, man, I would hear each of your respective band names and just automatically think of the other one. I Declare War. You know these guys?
I don't know them, but I know the band.
I took my son to see them in concert, and let me say, man, I was just doing a little research on them before you came on here, man. And they had a different singer then. This guy was terrifying, though. Absolutely fucking terrifying, man. He really sold it and was a terrifying looking dude. But I went on there and looked and saw it. Now they have another lead singer. But just riddle me this, and this is no disrespect to the guys that I Declare War. Maybe you could explain this better being a musician. So on Google or on any of the sites I went to, the inception of the band, the beginning of it is 2005. 2005. And that original lead singer that I'm talking about, the scary one, it says on there 2005 to 2010, he was their lead singer. No longer in the band now, but that would have been the time that I would have saw them. But now I look at all the other guys in the band, and the vocalist has been there since 2010. The rhythm guitarist since 2012. The lead guitarist since 2016, and the drummer since 2016. But if they were started as a band in 2005, that means every original member left and was replaced?
No original members, yeah.
Does this happen often in music? That blew my mind.
I guess it does. I mean, usually I think the most common thing is the singer. You know, as long as the singer's the same, that usually, they usually surround themselves with good players and stuff.
Right.
But there's also bands, like those super proggy, like guitar-based bands, like the Periphery kind of bands, those are kind of run by the guitar player. So
right.
I don't know. I mean, I get it. They probably don't want to give up the name. They probably do well still with that name because they've done well.
got to be a marketing thing. Because, you know, if everybody else was dead and gone, man, and out of Metallica, and there was still Lars, I could still see him getting 3 other guys and still going around calling himself Metallica. I'd be fine with that, I guess.
Sure. Well, I mean, that's pretty much Megadeth.
Yeah.
That's
and and Pantera, really, man, with all due respect to the Abbott brothers, I mean, you know, they're the heart and soul of that band, and they're both gone.
Right.
You know, so, I mean.
I think the guys filling in for it have made it clear that they're doing it like a tribute.
Right.
And if you look at it from that point, I mean, you can't get 2 better guys to fill.
They've got awesome players, yeah. And I am very excited. I just told my wife, I just saw online that April 2025. I'm close to Syracuse, New York. So at the Lakeview Amphitheater, Metallica will be rolling through town, and they're taking 2 bands with them on tour, and it alternates each city. Now, one of the packages was Metallica with Limp Bizkit and Ice 9 Kills. And I was wishy-washy about that. Then I see they're rolling through town, and on my bill, it's Metallica with Pantera and Suicidal Tendencies. So I'm golden. I'm fucking.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. I imagine I'm going to be paying out the fucking ass. I might have to take out a second mortgage on my house for a fucking ticket, but.
I bet. Yeah. And then if you want anything when you're there, yeah.
Yeah. That's going to be, I mean, even just the ticket alone, though, I feel like that's going to be like cha-ching.
Yeah. I mean, it's they have a big production. So, you know, a lot of people to pay on that. And
yeah,
I don't know. I think it's great that these like legacy bands like this are taking out smaller bands, and it's great, you know, with like Slipknot taking out Knocked Loose and stuff.
Yeah, that's cool. That's really cool.
It's so, and, you know, Deftones have been doing that for a while. Somebody's got a Spirit Box out on the tour. Whatever Gojira is playing above. Yeah. I mean, is
that something important you think artists have to recognize and see now, that that's one of the best ways to put new artists on, man? Because obviously with people not buying albums in the traditional sense anymore, you know, that's really probably the next best way right now to probably help a band break.
Oh, absolutely. And to put them,
takes them out.
And the buying your way on a tour has kind of always been a thing, but I feel like you know, what I just was talking about, I think that's these guys that are in a position of power, and maybe where they can kind of pick and choose who they get to pick. I think they're still fans of the band, of the kind of music, you know?
Right.
I think they're still passionate about it. I think they, you know, they're paying it forward. And I think at the same time, just taking out bands that they really like. And that's pretty awesome. That's better than buying your way on, you know, that's better than somebody at the top putting these tours together, and you know,
I mean, your manager's calling you up and saying, "Hey, I just got a call. You guys can start opening for Metallica in front of 30,000 people every night."
Can you imagine?
It's huge, right?
Yeah. Now,
I can't really. I didn't pour over our whole interview, so you know, if I'm on repeat, it's been like probably like a year or more since I've had you on or whatever, man. But going back to your beginning, man, and I may have asked you this: was there a specific album or an artist or a song that really kind of fucking like jump started the whole music thing for you?
Like the first kind of bands I was into, was like you know, Maiden and Judas Priest and stuff, but I never thought like I wanted to do that, or I could do that. Right. It wasn't until like the stuff like without the costumes and everything came out, like the Metallica.
Yeah.
That's kind of when I started wanting to do it. You know,
how early on in school, like, were you able to freaking shred and play guitar? Because I had a friend of mine, man, and we used to go see his band play all the time. And like, they were like big shit in our high school area or whatever, man. They were playing like, you know, death metal. And you look back on it now, like they made a couple of demos or whatever, man. And obviously it was like what you get back in the day, terrible production. It just sounded like a bunch of teenage kids screaming and growling on tape. But we'd go see him live all the time, man. Go and see him. And my friend was very resourceful. This was pre-internet. This is the 80s and the early 90s or whatever. He would call up to the Lost Horizon, our dive bar here in Syracuse, and he would get himself opening. He'd get his band, you know, he was great. I mean, he got them opening for some huge death metal bands, you know, back in the day, Death, Obituary, you know, just by calling up and just, you know, being aggressive and like, you know, selling his band more or less.
Sure.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, that's probably the way you got to do it nowadays, right? I mean, it's almost like you got to hope you have some type of a live audience, right? Because touring is really where it's at.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I think in order for bands that want to do it like full time, you have to tour. You have to tour.
And you're in a band, I think, man, that when you guys announce you're going to go out and do some shows, dude, man, I think people fucking get excited, you know?
Well, who knows? It could always be our last time in that town, you know? Like we're going, we just got a offer to do Vegas in February. I think the last time we were in Vegas was 25 years ago. Like this might be it, you know?
If I back up to that, if I back up to that last comment, is there something to be read in that comment, man? Am I reading too much into it where you say this could be our last time in your town?
I mean, if we're
never say never.
25 years, maybe, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's too much fun to stop. Like
it's 2024 now, man. How long have you yourself been in the band?
I joined originally in 98.
Holy shit. So
Yep.
26 years. Holy shit.
Yep.
That's the year I got married. I just had my anniversary, and I don't know what I was thinking, man. You could probably relate to this as a guy that's been married, man. I a week before that, man, I scheduled not one but 2 podcast interviews for my anniversary. That's not a good way to stay married. I mean, thankfully, thankfully the people were agreeable, and I was able to reschedule, and they understood, like a poor married guy like me shooting myself in the fucking foot like that. But
sure.
Get yourself in a lot of trouble that way, though.
Yeah, you're not kidding, man. Well, I mean, I don't know. Maybe that's your secret to success.
but you know, here you play this very extreme, you know, heavy, brutal music, man. But I see you put up pictures, you know, on Facebook. You know, I'll usually try to stalk my guests if they have a Facebook page, just check their last week or so, see if there's anything topical in there to talk about. And I did notice that you had one of your kids, you know, the back to school picture or whatever, man.
Oh, of course.
So I am beautiful, by the way, and so I imagine, man, that you're a strict dad or not a strict dad.
No, I mean, she's so good. I don't have to be strict.
Yeah.
But yeah, she probably gets one over on me.
So, like, where do you stand on like your kid's musical taste, man? Because my dad used to kind of be like, you know, kind of a religious shirt and tie, go to church every week kind of guy. Didn't always approve of all the music that I was bringing into the house. You know what I mean? And understandably so. I mean, maybe you'd be concerned if your kid's bringing home Deicide and like some of these gross, you know, very, you know, offensive covers. You know what I mean? Yeah. I get it or whatever, man. But you know, at the end of the day, I don't think music can really like turn you into something. Remember they tried to sue Judas Priest over that case when those kids killed themselves or whatever, man. I mean,
right? And that's that whole like satanic panic and the crazy Snyder against the PMRC. I mean, it was a tough sell to my parents because that was the stuff. As soon as I was interested in it, that was the attention it got. You know,
your parents were like that too. They were they were.
I think they were. I think they were concerned. You know,
you remember a specific album like that they specifically fucking called you on? Because I know, man, when my dad saw the Upside Down Crosses and saw Deicide, he was he's looking at the titles like, you know, Satan Spawn, and he's like, what is this fucking shit you're into here?
Yeah, I think I would have had trouble with that kind of stuff. I mean, Iron Maiden was difficult enough, you know, like looking at I remember them, like, I had like a Power Slave poster, and, you know, it's all hieroglyphics and stuff, and they're you know, trying to see like if there's any like satanic symbols in that. And when you think of it now, like, you know, the bands that you just talked about, Iron Maiden's pretty fucking tame compared to you know,
that's like hair metal compared to those.
They still look better than me. They're still in better shape than me. You know, they're fencers and pilots and soccer players. So
they're pretty incredible, man.
I could have been encouraged to be more like Iron Maiden, you know?
I like those guys, man, because they manage to kick ass, and you make a good point, though, man. Like, they all seem like Renaissance men, you know what I mean? Smart, smart, capable guys, man, as you said, man. Bruce pilots the planes, you know what I mean? Like, they're guys that just take the bull by the horns.
Absolutely.
And still kicking ass. So where would you stand on that? You know, being a musician yourself, making the kind of music you make, is there anything that your daughter could bring home that she would be listening to, like where you would be able to call her on it and say, you know, like you have a limit yourself?
I mean, she's into like the Taylor Swift stuff.
Yeah, that's one of my granddaughters.
But you know, she's 9.5, so she's just at the age where she's like into fashion and stuff. Yeah. And you know, like vintage looking metal stuff is very popular.
Yeah.
So she loves you know, she likes wearing like the sweatshirts. You know, she just started school a couple weeks ago. I already found out that she, you know, she tells the music teacher what I do, and she tells her teacher what I do. And one of the teachers said that, you know, she thought that she had seen us. So yeah, it's all, she loves that I do it. It's great.
You're saying that possibly one of the teachers at your daughter's school has gone out to see an all-out war concert?
I am saying that.
Wow,
Yes.
cool teacher. Cool teacher, though.
Yeah.
That's pretty fucking cool. I mean,
that's what I said. Yeah.
Yeah. Shout out to whoever that teacher is, man. Getting down with the kids and letting them know. You know, that's cool, man.
Yeah, man.
And so like what about like if your daughter came to you, man, and wanted to get in the music business? You've obviously seen some huge major changes to the point where it could be lucrative back in the day if you could get lucky enough to get on a label or get those advances or whatever, man. Now it's pretty fucking hard though, man. You know, if your daughter came to you want to be an artist, you'd be all right.
I think, I mean, she wants to, she's playing like viola or, I believe she just switched at last minute from violin. Maybe she won't stick with that forever, but I encourage all that stuff.
I think learning music is just good no matter what, man. Learning music is just amazing, no matter what you do with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I started on trumpet and I hated it. But it still was it was good foundation.
Yeah. It's almost like learning. I've even heard people put it, and I like when they put it this way. It's literally like learning another language.
Sure.
Like learning to speak a language.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the last album was Celestial Rot in 2023. I'd be remiss if I didn't ask. I don't want to hear about it in the comments section. If anybody takes me to task over it, man, any news on the forefront that you can divulge about any new music, anything coming from the boys?
We're in process right now. A couple songs in. We want to record before the end of the year. So just working around playing the live shows and everything, but there's definitely not a shortage of material or anything like that. We're I don't know, man. We're excited. It's still as fun as it's ever been. We're getting along better than we ever have. So yeah, it's I probably said it a dozen times last time, but it's my football night, it's my poker night, it's my creative band practice night, all rolled into one. With work and the kid and everything, that's about all my schedule allows for, and
that's enough.
Yeah,
that's
man.
Enough, man. Yeah.
There's nothing I'd rather do. So
I've simplified my life a lot too, like where it's kind of like the same thing, either podcast or writing or doing something creative, time with the grandkids or work. That's really it,
Yeah.
Just so happens I can have these cool conversations like this because of what I happen to do and because of what you happen to do, but
Sure.
But, I do look at it as a creative outlet, though. I'm not so much into word. I guess maybe early on, if I had to confess, I thought about subscribers and views a lot, man. But, I mean, it's just cool just putting out awesome conversations with people whose talents I admire and see if other people dig it, too,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But it has grown. It has grown. It grew the first time I did the Pod Scum. It grew. And then when me and my son were co-hosting a boxing one in between.
Yeah.
We did a lot of episodes of that, and then it just got tough with him because he's got 4 kids. It became increasingly hard for him to carve out time to jump on here and co-host the episodes with me. So, I mean, he had to kind of bail. But, I mean, we got 160 episodes in, though.
I love the boxing one.
Yeah. Are you a sports fan?
I'm not particularly. I'm a boxing fanatic.
Yeah, you gotta love it. I don't give a shit if you're not a sports fan or not, man. All guys are gonna fucking say that they love any sport where another guy's punching another guy.
I've always like starting with like the boxing in the 80s. Growing up and watching it with my dad. I went through a phase of like of really liking basketball.
Yeah,
and
me too.
And I pay attention. I watch football a little bit, but boxing and then like the mixed martial arts stuff has kind of always been my thing.
And so I got to ask you, man, I don't know as much about the mixed martial arts, but boxing, man, like who was your guy back in the day, man? Did you have those couple of fighters that you really pulled for?
I mean, Mike Tyson was everybody's fighter. He was the big guy when I was in high school, but I kind of started before. I mean, Larry Holmes was always one of my favorite guys. Marvin Hagler was my favorite middleweight period of all time.
I love Hagler, man. We had his fucking son on, man.
Oh God, he might be my favorite boxer of all time. Period.
Yeah, actually, I just saw a cool thing someone put on Facebook, man, like a side by side. and they both have the same record right now, and they both fight around the same weight right now. 62 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws for Hagler. 62 wins, 2 losses, 2 draws for Canelo. And people always do that, you know. Oh, if you were to put them together in this era, I think in any era though, man, Hagler fucking beats Canelo though.
I agree. Nobody was conditioned like that.
Yeah.
And Canelo had great conditioning, and like De La Hoya, like those guys that went, you know, Chavez, those guys that you just never seem to get tired. Hagler fought in Hagler fought in the 15th round like he was fighting in the first and second round. Like the training that he did was ridiculous.
And so how big of a fan were you in 1987 when I guess you're around the same age as me. I was 14 then. When Hagler fought Sugar Ray, which is still, I will tell you from doing a boxing podcast for almost a year, still a very polarizing decision. When me and my son go into the boxing groups, and we try to go into the ones on Facebook and kind of keep up with what's going on in the sport, because we're doing a podcast, keeping up on topical stuff. And that decision is still put up all the time, man. And it's still so polarizing, man. My son just put a picture of the two of them up. It got thousands of comments, man. People still debating.
Yeah.
Who won? You tell us.
That's a tough one, man.
We're talking Hagler up here, so I mean, but me myself, and I've said it many times on our show. My final scorecard was 115-113 for Ray, though.
I don't know. I remember when I was watching it, even I mean, I was a Hagler fan, so of course I was looking at it a little bit jaded. But I remember like a lot of like the flurries at the end where like Leonard would try to like it would look like he was like trying to steal the rounds right at the end.
Oh, he did that a lot, yeah.
I mean, people didn't like that about him, but the argument for that is that it's not fighting, it's boxing.
Yeah,
there's a difference between, you know, if you saw that in the street, it's a different story than boxing. Boxing includes all those things that aren't as fun to watch.
Yeah, and it really is chess out there, man. You know what I mean? Like,
it's a chess.
You want to be a couple moves ahead and be seeing things that are coming or are gonna come your way.
Yeah,
it helps to be perceptive.
I could give you Leonard in that.
Yeah.
What I cannot give you is Spinks beating Larry Holmes.
Yeah, you're right about that. Yeah.
And
although I will say in that Hagler Leonard card, man, shame on the guy, because there was 2 judges, each had it 115, 113, one for each guy. And then the other guy had it I think something like 118, 110 for Leonard. Even if he won, he didn't win it by that margin.
Absolutely. A close split would have been fine.
Yeah.
Right. And speaking of another one of those, it might be today. If not, it was in the last couple of days. It's the anniversary of the De La Hoya and Trinidad fight. Another
that was a robbery. That was a
robbery. But
that was a bona fide robbery.
My father and I always agree that Oscar got a lot of those in his favor, though.
He did
over the period of his career.
Yeah.
So
I try not to knock Oscar a lot, because for people that watch the boxing show, man, like they know, man, that Oscar is like my guy. I don't care about the women's panties and any of that shit, man. I'm just thinking about what he did in that ring when he fought, man. He was my dude back in the day.
If I can put the Mike Tyson stuff aside, you know, and I mean, a lot of those dudes, you know, the Tommy Morrison stuff, you know, Tommy Morrison wasn't a good, you know, he had he was a wild guy, you know, but yeah, looking at them just in the ring.
Yeah, Tommy Morrison's wife was one of our last interviews, man. And I'll tell you what, man, what I loved about her, shout out to her, man, is that she had tons and tons of actual, and she showed it to us on the podcast, tons and tons of signed documents and medical stuff. And she had a lot of shit that really was refuting the whole fucking AIDS thing.
I remember that. I don't know if it was a documentary about him before he passed away or like interviews, but I remember that.
Well, there's a good one being made right now, because that's why it took me a while to get her on the show, man, because she wanted to get a lot of the filming done. But there is one coming out early 2025, she said on our show, called I Am Tommy. And that's going to be pretty comprehensive, because that's pretty much been like worked on like with her.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think, I mean, there hasn't been a heavyweight like that in a long time that had that like that scary power like Mike Tyson, you know?
Yeah. And dude, and he got to star in a Rocky movie.
Yeah. Yeah,
there's nothing wrong with that, man. Which even though it was panned by the critics and the fans shit on it a lot, when you go back and watch it, though, the thing that is cool about it is because it's the one Rocky movie that doesn't end with him deciding it in the ring. Having a street fight with Tommy at the end was pretty fucking cool.
Pretty cool. Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, it put a little different twist on like him always like winning shit, you know, in the ring, you know, under the prime circumstances, everybody watching.
Yeah. Well, I guess being in Rocky almost made up for him getting the shit beat out of him by Ray Mercer.
Yeah.
That's
one of
the worst
stoppages ever. Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah.
It's horrendous. We talked about that with her too, man. I think we talked about that with her too. And like they've since been at banquets and at dinners, man, and they kind of joke about it now, man. I almost can't even fault Mercer as much as the ref, though, because Mercer is just in the heat of battle right there. He's just going to keep throwing, you know?
Absolutely. You fight until the bell, or until you're stopped. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. So that he did let that go on a lot longer.
There's like 4 power shots to man.
Yeah. Unanswered bombs.
He's sitting on the ropes with his hands by his side. I mean, it's hard to practice.
Yeah. He's defenseless. So like what you guys are working on now musically, to get back to the music stuff, man, what's the creative process like with you guys? Has it changed? Is someone coming in with the lion's share of the ideas? Are you guys getting all together? Is it real collaborative?
It's pretty much the same it's always been. Everybody kind of brings stuff to the table. It goes through the blender of everybody. Everybody's so easy to work with that there's, you know, like some of us are good at writing certain parts and some of us are good at arranging things. And by this point it's just fun, man. Like,
and what's your talent that you bring to the band, man? Like, what are you good at, man? Do you like to write songs?
I do. I like to, I was talking about this the other day. It used to be, you know, the other guitar player, Taris, would write a certain kind of part, and then I might write a certain kind of part. But I think we've been playing together for so long at this point that now, like when we like listen back, I'll forget who wrote what, because we're kind of like influenced by each other's style. Like, so it just kind of becomes, you know, we're writing for the band, if that makes sense.
Yeah. But like, what about you? Like, what about you individually with your own creative process, though? You're like, if you're not with the band, do you have like a ritual?
I'm pushing the black metal agenda. Like, that's, you know, I want the fast tremolo-y parts. You know, a little bit of like the theatrics of that. And then, you know, mixed with like kind of like the sound of the band that's always been there, you know.
What do you identify more with, or like what do you feel like they package you together more with, man? Like, do they look at you and think, because I know that the metal world is just rife with fucking genres and subgenres and everything labeled and put in these little boxes, man. Like, what do you, you know, are there any labels that you can't stand seeing when they're talking about you, man? Like, you know, do they associate you more with metalcore or death metal or hardcore?
We've always been able to kind of float in between all of those. Sometimes we'll be the only metal band on a hardcore show, and sometimes it's a more metal show where personally I think we fit in. But we're just happy to play, man. There's benefits to both. I mean, I've always been a fan of both styles, so as long as they'll have us, I think it's great.
I'd be happy as shit if great hardcore bands had you out, though. I wouldn't bat an eyelash, man. Like, if you were opening for like Agnostic Front, I'd be like, wow, that's a fucking great bill. You know?
We just played with Murphy's Law and Killing Time. Like, I was, that's you know, 15-year-old me would never think that would happen. You know, I remember listening to those records. That, you know, it's great.
One of my favorite bands is Agnostic Front. Agnostic Front is actually out on tour now with Sepultura. They're doing their farewell tour, and the other band on the bill is Obituary. So Agnostic Front doesn't really, you know, like fit in necessarily, you would think, with those two bands, but that's a great package, though.
Well, those bands were smart. I remember, you know, when those bands came out, I was 13 and 14. I knew that they sounded a little bit different, but I didn't. To me, Agnostic Front was a heavy metal band. They were playing with Obituary already. They were They were in, to me, there wasn't like a big difference. There was punk rock that came before it. And then there was all this stuff that kind of sounded, the Cro-Mags kind of sounded a little closer to Agnostic Front, but none of that stuff sounded like Overkill.
Right.
But it's all right in the same area. And, like a lot of the same people are going to the same shows. I didn't realize that there was a big difference in that until I was like 17 and I started actually going to shows and going to the city and,
right.
Then you kind of see that there's, and, back then the metal scene wasn't really inclusive like it is now. So that's kind of how I found hardcore.
Yeah, I think the metal community is the most embracing for sure, man. Because I've even ventured to shows, completely solo. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna miss an opportunity to see somebody that I really want to see because I don't have company for the night. You know what I mean? I'll fly fucking solo and go myself, man. But you always find somebody that'll compliment you on the shirt you're wearing or the patch on your jacket or something. It is very welcoming, and suddenly, man, like you're in like a, it really is a brotherhood. Yeah, I think the metal community, man. I think there's less problems in the metal community, man, than you see at some of these hip hop shows or even country concerts.
Absolutely. But I, when I 100% agree about that. And it's been like that for quite a while, but I remember getting into it and not being metal enough or not being, not looking the part enough. And, granted that was that was just my personal experience with it.
Yeah.
But it really wasn't until I was a little older that it became, for me at least, like a community. It was more of like a I don't know, like a rite of passage thing that it was being treated as, of like a tough guy contest almost at first.
Is there one of you guys in the band who handles like the business aspect of it? It always seems like in every band there's that one guy who has to take on like the not so rock and roll business side of things. Who handles that in your band?
So Mike, the singer, he does like the booking and like dealing with like the booking agent and such. And I do like the finances and like the filing the taxes and all that fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It seems like a job nobody wants in the band, though, right?
It's
not what you get into it for.
Absolutely not. And for somebody who hates math, it's a weird job for me to have.
Yeah.
But I need something to do when we're at shows and things. So, I handle like the merchandise and keep the inventory and all of that. And it kind of keeps the anxiety at bay, and it gives me a purpose to be there.
Yeah. I would want to do that too. I would want some busy work too. I don't know if I could just hang around all day and just hang.
Not for 10 hours.
Yeah, that's rough. And so speaking of like being out there on the road and touring, obviously you guys have been doing this a long time. You have family commitments, jobs, whatever. At what length are you guys able to go out and tour? Is there a comfortable like number for you guys that you discuss in a band at this point? Hey, we should go out for this many weeks, or everyone's probably got a limit, right?
We kind of take it as it comes. If it's something that we can do and it's not too hard for anybody to move their schedule around, or we all have full-time jobs,
right?
But everybody's really cool about I think I probably have the most restricted schedule, and I don't think anybody's ever asked why if I said, unfortunately I can't do it. Like those guys know that I want to do it as much as I can.
Right.
This is the group of guys that we're doing it with, so we make it work when we make it work. And I think that's probably got something to do with why we're still able to do it.
And when you play live, man, and like when you play live, because I know, man, I do anything nowadays, I'm sore as fuck the next day. I just am, man. I mean, when you're going out at your age now, man, aches and pains the next day after shows, man, or holding up good.
I mean, yeah. I mean, at my age now, it's aches and pains on the regular days. So
right. You're not kidding, man.
it kind of feels, I don't know. It kind of feels good to get up there and still get that adrenaline rush where you're not worried about it for a while. And knock on wood, nothing too bad yet.
Yeah, it does make you. It's got to make you feel vital.
Absolutely. It's never. It still has that Christmas morning feel. It doesn't matter how big the show is or how many people are there. Like,
yeah,
you know, I always have a quick like flash of 13-year-old me looking at like posters on the wall, thinking like,
yeah.
God, that's awesome. You know,
I want to do that someday.
yeah.
Yeah.
Or I mean, I don't even know if I think I somewhere dreamt it in the back of my mind, and it was never even a possible, you know, I never even considered that, you know, I figured I'd be this age and I'd be having, you know, having the conversation without have done any of it. Right.
Now, what does your daughter think about the kind of music that you play?
You know, obviously it's not her favorite kind of music, but she loves that I do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like have you tried to it probably is a lot, man, for like you know, for a younger child to get into extreme metal. I don't even know what age I started looking at music and wanting to explore its heavier side. She's probably still too young for it.
Yeah. I mean, there's times when she's here and I've got to practice for something. So,
yeah.
and
she's hearing it.
Yeah. And she's been exposed to it since she's been really young. So it's kind of cool that she's not like intimidated by it. You know, I don't expect it to be her first thing or her like preference or anything. But on the you know, so we practice at my house, and on the door to the practice space, there's everybody's favorite picture, and it's a drawing of the album cover that she drew like when she was like 2.
Oh, that's nice.
Like, yeah, I'll send you a picture of it on.
That's nice. That's nice.
It's the best thing in the world. I want to make a t-shirt out of it.
Yeah, and so yeah, I think I started to want to, you know, I think I wanted to start exploring like metal music more like 12, 13, you know.
Absolutely.
Older. I mean, she's at the right age where listening to Taylor Swift should be what she was should be what she's listening to.
Absolutely.
My granddaughters are eating that shit up too, man. Like any of those pop divas, anything that sounds catchy nowadays.
Sure.
And it all sounds catchy.
You know, like there's stuff she doesn't like all of it. There's stuff, you know, she's got a discerning ear already. So
do you still live in New York State?
I do. I live in Hyde Park, kind of like on like right outside of Poughkeepsie, about halfway in between Albany and the city.
Yeah, so I'm upstate too, as you know, and I saw some countdown they were where they were naming the state's best known for cuisine. And granted, New York was on there, man, but I thought it should have been higher. I'm trying to think of what number it came in, man. New York State, man, legendary eats, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
The home of pizza. The home of pizza.
Yeah. You don't realize it until you. I mean, you can get. Connecticut's good too, but you get too much past that, and you get off the East Coast, and it's not the same. You know, that's anybody that anybody that moves to California, it's the water that's why you can't get a good bagel or pizza.
But out there though, you can get like other stuff like like better Mexican food and better tacos and better shit like that though.
100%.
Yeah, sure. You can find that good beach food.
Yeah, absolutely.
So do you still like traveling, or like when you go out on tour, like you yourself, like personally, you know, we start to get older, man. We really start like craving those creature comforts, man. Like, do you like being gone for a long time? I'm sure there's something great about the traveling part of it, man. But you know, so when we get older, man, I want my house more and more, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. We don't go away for too long. I mean, the most we would go away for at this point is maybe 10 days, and that would be pushing it. Yeah. Most of what we're doing is we're doing like fly-ins. So we're in and out in a weekend.
That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's still pretty cool. Like, you know, I still forget about, you know, all the getting to the airport and all that crap and getting the guitars on the plane, but I don't know, you don't do that for a week and I forget it, you know, I just remember the show and I forget about all of that kind of stuff. And it's usually pretty short. It's kind of a nice reprieve from the real world.
And that's nice that you have like a tunnel vision, because you know you're going through all that stuff, the travel, the airport, the bullshit like that. But at least you have like a vision at the end of it. Like, oh, this is going to be awesome. Sure. It's going to be an amazing release.
Absolutely.
Play music. I mean,
Yeah.
And so, so you guys ever sit around as a band and say, has anybody ever talked about like, a stop date on like when they don't want to be playing music past a certain age, or have you yourself thought about that?
No, not yet. I mean,
good.
I mean, maybe if I don't get that, that excited feeling when it's time to play, and I still look forward to practice. It's sometimes it's tough, but I still like the guys. I still like the creative process of it. I still think I'm lucky that I'm able to do it. So
is it rare to do it? Is it rare to do it for as long as you guys have, and actually, like as you say, man, still fucking like the guys? That probably is the toughest part.
Well, look at those bands that we were talking about. Iron Maiden look like they're having the time of their life, right?
Yeah, they do.
Judas Priest sound better than ever.
Yeah.
Like I feel like metal has this. It's like it's crystallized to a point that it's not easy for the guys to retire. Like it's.
Yeah.
I've always maintained that metal kind of chose me. I didn't go out looking for something that wasn't popular and that would kind of be like an uphill battle and be popular with my friends and be okay to, for anybody to preface with like, I don't like the kind of music you play. Like,
right.
The only thing you would, I fuck around with my dentist with that, and cause he's super interested in what I do. And I always fuck around with him and say like, yeah, I think it's kind of gross that you work with teeth. Like you'd never say that to anybody.
Right.
You wouldn't think anything of saying to me like, oh yeah, that that music that you like, I fucking hate it.
It's horrible. Yeah, I know.
It's terrible. Right.
I gotta say, as long as she's not within earshot, man, and I'm usually pretty quiet up here in the studio. My wife is one of those people that hates the fucking extreme metal music. Though I couldn't. Okay. If I was ever gonna come see a band of your magnitude that plays the kind of music you do, she wouldn't be 100 fucking miles from it, man. No way. I would never get her anywhere near it. She's very careful about asking who I'm going to see or whatever. And if she's not into it, she's not into it.
Yeah. Well, you like what you like.
I'd rather go by myself. Although I did tell her if I couldn't find somebody else to go, though, that she had to come with me to that Metallica show. But that's a good one, though.
That's she should be able to find something there that she enjoys.
I don't think she'll enjoy Suicidal or Pantera, but I know there's some Metallica songs that she likes.
Yeah, Pantera might be the tough one. Suicidal put on an incredible show.
Yeah. But they're another one of those bands, though, man, that don't really have like a lot of the classic lineup, though, man. You know what I mean? It's pretty much like Mike and like a bunch of other people.
It's Robert's son, I think, still.
Yeah. He's pretty good.
He's incredible.
Yeah. And that'd be cool. That'd be cool because they'll be on the same bill together because they're on with Metallica. So that'll be kind of nice.
Yeah, I bet that kind of helped them get the show. In there.
And so for you, man, I gotta ask, if you're gonna listen to music from a fan standpoint, you're not playing it, you're not practicing it, man. Do you have like your go-to staples that you listen to? Or, do you find it hard? There's so much music out there. How could you not find it hard? Trying to find everything that's out there on the streaming platforms. It's fucking impossible, man. But if you're gonna listen from a fan standpoint, do you got your staples that you go back to? Like, are you kind of like stuck in a time warp? Like if I'm going to listen to music around the house, I go way back to my fucking my standards, and I'm not always as good about exploring new music.
Okay.
Or finding new bands that really excite me.
I still do that. That's always been. I've always liked the finding and like sharing bands that I'm excited about, and I still. Yeah, so I think it's weird when like people say like, oh, there's no good music left, or like people are, you're just not fucking looking, man.
Right.
Like, there's like you said, there's more than I can, when I was coming up, I felt like, but besides a handful of bands, I pretty much heard most bands that were doing it. Most bands that were putting out records, but Spotify comes out, there's 200 metal albums a week that come out.
It's insane. There's no way. There's no way to digest it all, man.
And there's so much of it that's great. Like it's a wonderful time for metal. It's never been better.
And what could the record company have done, man, to get this, more of an even playing field, man, and get artists paid better so they wouldn't have to just be out on the road slogging it and trying to hope that they sell merch, man? Should the music labels have gotten in on the streaming, or was there a way for them to get in on the streaming and harness this so it could have been fruitful and productive for everybody involved?
Uh, you'd have to ask somebody that makes a lot of money off the streaming. I honestly don't know how that works. But I mean, there's obviously the bands are still making their money on the road.
Right.
I know when when like the physical music kind of disappeared for a while and the labels were kind of trying to figure out how to make that up. They were doing like those 360 deals where they were the record label and the agent and like the merchandising company.
Yeah.
I don't personally know, but I feel like that probably isn't the best for the band making the most money they could.
Yeah. It's not
being 100% reliant on the label like that.
And yet, you guys, one thing I like about you guys, though, man, is when you guys drop a release, though, man, like you don't follow any of those fucking trends, man. Even around COVID, it seemed like everybody was panicking and they had to be getting singles out or they had to be putting EPs out and just
a lot of EPs, right?
saturating the market with a lot of work because I think people were starting to think like, oh shit, man, I'm here today, gone tomorrow. No one's going to remember. I got to keep my name and out there. I got to keep it relevant in people's ears. Seemed like there was like a big push around then because obviously people couldn't get out and go play live because of the restrictions, man. But we were getting tons of music streamed.
Sure,
it was incredible.
And I kind of felt like there were bands like almost like rushing EPs out because they wanted to get it out there because who knew what was going to happen.
Right. Yeah.
So I feel like the music from that time had a certain, especially with the heavy stuff, had like an urgency to it. I think the stuff that we did during that time certainly did, like you want to play shows. I mean, half of the times we were, illegally practicing because you weren't allowed to gather.
Right.
It was
right.
Weird. It was a weird time.
People are going to look back at that statement that you just made in a time capsule someday when we're dead and gone, and this is still floating around on the internet, man. Yeah. And they're going to be like, and it's going to be looked at as a weird time in human history. Yeah, they couldn't gather.
I wonder how. I think of that all the time. What is it going to look like in the history books in 20 years, especially if nothing like this happens in between?
Yeah. I think it's going to make us look a little bit stupid because me working in healthcare, man, we rushed to get these vaccines out. And guess what, man? I fucking got a couple of them because I had to stay working. And I still got COVID again after I got the vaccines. So what did I really get put in my body? And then they started doing all this back testing that this stuff in the vaccines was really not all that good for you. So who are you to believe, man? Someone's bullshitting you on some side or the other, man. I did it just to stay fucking gainfully employed, man, because I was told by the state that I'm licensed as a nurse that I had to.
Yeah.
So I mean, but I'm not so sure given the different circumstances if I would have rushed right out to get a vaccine. I mean, but there were a lot of people pressing the fear button though, man. Everybody was terrified.
Absolutely.
But it's really, but in history, it's just going to be looked at like we just got like another, like when the flu first fucking swept in, or pneumonia,
Yeah. Yeah.
Now it has a name.
If it will look like a modern plague or
right.
I wonder how it's interesting to see what it'll, 20 years from now, what it's going to look like to people that, weren't alive for any of it, or, even whose parents were young when it happened.
It's even oozed into the vernacular, man, because you used to hear people sneeze and cough. Oh, you got a cold. Oh, you might have the flu or whatever. Now it's like anybody coughs or sneezes, man. You got the Rona, you got
that. People forget that there's other things that you could have.
Yeah, they just got terrified, man. Did you get vaccinated? If you don't mind saying, I don't know if you're pro or anti-vax. I don't care one way or another, man. To each his own, man. But did you get vaccinated?
I did, and what I will say is that I was pro keeping my job, and
I hear you.
Similar. I mean, not you have a much more direct care job doing what you do, but I work for the county. I work with disadvantaged people, so I was an essential employee, so I had to be there.
Yep.
So it was either and I waited as long as I could, and then I got vaccinated, and then I got it shortly after there. So
are you a fan of getting the flu shot as well?
Nope, I don't.
No. You pass on it. And so what happens? And so what happens if you pass for the entire flu season? Do you have to wear a mask?
I don't think so. I feel like
in a nurse
at this point.
In my job in a nursing home, I would have to wear a mask if I refused it or didn't show proof that I got it at my doctor's.
Okay.
Or get it through work.
They encourage it at my job. They certainly make it available, and you don't have to use time, and they they actually bring the clinic right to work. So you go upstairs and get vaccinated. So
yeah, I just donated blood. They brought the blood mobile to my work the other day, man. But he didn't do the best job, and he did blow my vein. I want the American Red Cross to understand.
Oh my God!
Come on, you got to do better when people are fucking donating blood. For God's sake,
you got an amateur, yeah.
What are you sending rookies in there? I mean, come on,
right?
Yeah, I'm in here giving a fucking pint of A negative, which you guys beg me for. You know what I mean? I'm happy to do it, man. I understand the need for blood or whatever, man. But I mean, they are once you're registered with them, and especially coupled if you have a blood type that they want, they are up your ass, man, with text messages and emails. They could back off a little.
Got the juice. They want it.
They're a little intense with it, though, man. They really are.
And they might want to get rid of that guy. They're going to lose business.
Yeah, that's not a good look, man, to do somebody like that, man. And so, do you still are you somebody that like, you know, you talk about practicing with the band or whatever, but like, are you somebody that plays your guitar daily?
Not, I wouldn't say daily, and I'm probably playing all out war stuff. I'm either writing songs or I'm practicing songs. I'm not doing too much outside of that. I wish I had time to practice classical guitar and things like that, but you know, I'm lucky enough to have this gig that I have, and
you are.
My hand, you know, the older I get, you know, you talked about like how you feel and getting older and such. My hands are starting to get a little bit, you know, dare
arthritic?
I say, yeah, I don't want.
I'll say it for you.
I don't want to. Yeah. So you know, the more that I keep up with it, the better it is, and it, you know,
it's nothing, man. It's a part of life, man. I don't see a single person in the nursing home, man, that doesn't get fucking arthritis, man. It's one of those things, man, that like, and like, especially, you know, you, man, you do something physical, man, like with your hands, man, that's going to be like a prime site for you to get it. If you are going to get it early on, you know what I mean? You're probably going to have some stiffness and pain in your hands or whatever. But I almost think the guitar playing, though, and keeping them loose and nimble, though, man, is a way to keep it from getting a foothold.
Certainly. Yeah.
You know,
I don't think anything to be said for not moving. I think the more you move, usually the better things get. And you know, I think it's easy to get lazy with stuff like that. But
and now, what's first? And now, when you're sitting around, like, as you said earlier, you know, you're writing stuff, you know, for All Out War. Like, what do you use as your like kind of creative impetus? Like, you draw inspiration from any certain place? You know, do you think back about movies you saw or books you read, or are you like a newsie? Do you watch shit on TV and get fucking pissed off and write about it? Like, what's your kind of like muse, kind of, so to speak? Like,
I get like a pattern or something in my head. Or I'll hear people talk, and the meter of the way that they speak sounds to me like something that could, you know, sound musical to me or something like that. It's a tricky thing for me, and it's always been. So I literally have a guitar and a recording setup, even if it's like a little Bluetooth thing, in every room. There's something over here in the living room, and I have it set up in the bedroom and downstairs where we practice and all that stuff. I need to be able to have that spark and immediately do it, you know, like
explore it.
Like, if you say, let's sit down today and write songs, that's not happening. That's not how it happens for me.
So it's pretty spontaneous for you.
It's either happening or not. It's impossible for me to force, you know.
And what are you doing usually, like, when you get like fucking creatively inspired, though, man? Is it usually during movies, or is it when you're like reading, or like when you watch something specific? I mean, like, where do you I mean, there's obviously a ton of shit in the world to get pissed off and angry about, always.
I feel like when I have like it's hard to like hum another song when you're like listening to a song. So maybe every once in a while there'll be like a note or a something in there that I'll think like, oh, that's cool, I would have maybe used it like this, and do things like that. But usually the patterns or like the rhythms and those things, those just kind of pop in there when there's not that other stuff going on. It's like when the other stuff is going on, I'm kind of occupied, and I'm pretty OCD, so it's hard enough for me to focus on one thing. So I'm not watching a movie and also thinking, if I start thinking of how this would make a cool song, I'm going to be the annoying guy next to you that's asking what's going on the whole
right.
time.
Right.
I'm not that guy.
You gotta get out of it and go flesh it out.
Right. Yeah. It would take me 10 hours to get through a movie, rewinding it and such. But yeah, it's just
that's cool that it comes like that, though, man. That's got to be kind of that's got to be kind of exciting. It's got to be somewhat like you just to be hit with those rewarding sparks of creativity.
It's kind of always just been like that. I don't know why. Yeah, it's always something that it's almost like I'm trying to fill in, because I'm usually listening to music or watching something or listening to podcasts or something like that. So when that's not going on, I feel like my brain is trying to like fill up that empty space and kind of make music for it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it makes cool riffs. And so
you also write lyrics as well.
I have nothing to do with the lyrics. That's all Mike.
Okay, so so that's never been a creative itch you wanted to scratch. You're okay with not coming up with lyrics.
Not only am I not am I okay with not having anything to do with that, I'm not like a big lyric guy where like if like we liked a song, I'm never going to be that guy of like, oh man, those lyrics are so great. Like and I'm way into singers. Like a singer will ruin a guitar band for me.
Yeah.
If I don't like the singer, I'm not getting past that.
I get it. The voice does matter. It's important.
Super 100%. But I don't really care what he's saying. I'm more about like the phrasing and the voice that he's using, and like if he's thinking of like cool vocal patterns. There's bands that I have favorite songs of that I've got some bullshit version of the lyrics in my head that
we've all been there, I think.
Yeah. But I'm more into like the tonality of the voice and kind of used as like an instrument. So I like where it goes, and I like the tone of the voice. But with the guy singing about, certainly sometimes if it's something I like and I decide that like, oh, what's he singing about, and they're good lyrics, it will definitely make me appreciate it more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now all the years you've been playing out live and doing festivals and things of this nature, you probably got a chance to, I would hope, at some point, like see people that you admire in the business, man. Maybe even at the expense of not sounding corny, even been a little starstruck. Has there been anybody that you've had a chance to meet that you really kind of fucking geeked out over?
It kind of happens to me all the time because I'm such a fan.
Yeah.
So
I would be that way too, man. I would be like,
whenever we're at like a really good example of it is when we played the Decibel Philly Metal and Beer Fest.
Yeah.
And we're hanging out backstage, and there's guys that I think are major guys back there that, to me, it feels like I shouldn't be back here.
Right.
I'm just like a fan.
Right.
So after we got done playing, I went, back to our merch table and stuff. And like the guy from Immolation, Ross, the singer,
legend,
and Dan fucking Lilker from
FOD,
Brutal Truth. Right.
From one of my favorite thrash bands of all time, man, Nuclear Assault.
Probably my favorite thrash band.
Love them. I'm trying to get John Connolly to come on here now.
Oh, dude, yeah, he's
one of my favorite
singer guitar players.
If I'm ever going to give someone an example of what I think of, man, and turn someone on to like music that I would by definition call thrash, from what the classic sound of thrash to me, if I had to turn someone on to that sound, I would play the Nuclear Assault first.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That would be my band. I always say that, and Exodus.
Absolutely.
Man, that's what I hear like when I hear thrash music.
I love Exodus.
Yeah.
Nuclear Assault had that New York thing that made me.
Yeah.
There was something like a little dangerous about
Yeah. Well, I saw on the New York Hardcore Chronicles, man. Drew Stone did a great piece, man, and had John Connolly on and Howie Abrams, the author, for a long chat on there, man. And John Connolly and all those guys, man, like they weren't from a specific scene, like Bay Area or down in Florida or Houston or anything like that, man. Like they were like the New York City guys going to punk and hardcore shows before anything.
Yeah, like if you see that, if you remember, like that Phil Donahue show where like. You know, Murphy's Law was on there, and
it was classic.
Roger was on there. They panned to the crowd, and it's fucking John Connolly and Dan Wilker sitting in
I remember. Yeah,
they were part of all of that, and that's why they were so good. So I saw those guys, and 13-year-old me, like literally just calling out their names and their pedigrees, like to their face, like But whatever, man. I'm still as much a fan as I've ever been, and. You know, it's my favorite.
Dude, they made me like a huge fan, and they were doing something cool that a lot of bands, you know, weren't doing back then too, man. Like they were putting a lot of like, which hardcore music does a lot of, man. They were putting a lot of the political and social injustices that hardcore music puts into their music. You know, they were singing a lot about, you know, animal rights and like protecting the environment. I remember when I saw that Critical Mass video on Headbangers Ball, man. You know, they were just like in that industrial yard, just fucking rocking.
Yeah.
And it was all about the environment and like, you know, like, you know, destroying the planet essentially.
Yeah, they were really ahead, even for like the hardcore. So, like they were doing that before a lot of people.
Yeah.
Oh,
and so you were saying about like, so who's the one that was the most impactful, man? You saw one celebrity, man, that you really geeked out over, man. Like who would have been like the biggest of the big?
I don't know. When I was 20, Harley Flanagan was pretty.
Yeah.
You know, Cro-Mags was one of my favorite bands.
Legend. He's a legend. Yeah.
I don't being in the same room with like the guys from like Cradle of Filth. No. Forget it. I scratch all of that. I can include myself in it, even though we weren't on the same stage, but we were allowed in the same area.
Close enough.
Seeing Tom Warrior from Celtic Frost.
Oh yeah.
That's as big as it gets for me.
Yeah.
That's like bigger than if I saw, you know, the Metallica or Slayer guys.
That's coming from a true metalhead right there, man. To get more geeked out about Tom Warrior, man, than seeing the Metallica dudes, man. Yeah, you're hardcore.
That's there. As far as influential, that's you know, because I couldn't play the Metallica stuff when I first started playing, but you could kind of play the Celtic Frost stuff.
I think out of all the boxers we had on here, even going back to our boxing show, man, that was the toughest, most badass fucking statement of all time right there, man.
Oh, yeah? All right.
Yeah. But like, do you like going out with metal bands, or do you like being more on a hardcore bill, or is the thrill kind of the same either way for you?
I kind of like doing them both. I mean, I'm personally probably a fan of more of the metal stuff, but I think it's awesome that anybody's watching us or, you know, coming to see us play. So I'm all about both of them. I think it's great that we're able to play to kind of go through the middle and not be strictly to one. And, you know, the hardcore scene and the metal scene, like we said earlier, it's getting blurry in there.
Peanut butter and jelly. Yeah. It is. Yeah, without a doubt. And the statement I meant, you looked a little confused, was you saying that you could get more out of a thrill out of meeting Tom Warrior over anybody in Metallica. And I'm just thinking, wow, that is a fucking hardcore statement right there, man. That's a true metalhead right there, man.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, that's hard. I mean, boxers that have been on this show, and there will be more. Take note, man. That's bringing it hard right there.
There might be I'm trying to think. There might be.
No, that's all right, Kirk. That's all right, Lars. You guys go fuck yourself. I'm going to meet Tom Warrior.
I'm trying to think if there's any boxer that would get me more excited than meeting Tom Warrior.
Hagler would have probably been a big one if he was.
Hagler might have been it.
I mean, rest in peace. He's since passed now, man. But yeah, I would have been geeked out to meet him. I got to see him at the Boxing Hall of Fame because I probably only live about 20 minutes away from there. So I do get to go to Hall of Fame weekend a lot. And it was just this past June or July. And as you said about like fucking geeking out when you see people, I literally had to have a picture with fucking everybody, man, like to cement the moment. It was amazing, man. Fucking Ricky Hatton was getting inducted. Got a nice picture with him. And some legends: Eric Morales, Marco Antonio Barrera.
Oh wow!
Real bona fide Julian the Hawk Jackson.
Okay.
Just some amazing fucking dudes. Fucking Butterbean.
Okay. Eric
who's looking great and very slim, by the way. Kelly
I
Pavlik. Yeah, there were some bona fide legends there, man, in the house, man, for sure.
Yeah. Not too long ago around here, Riddick Bowe did a signing.
Yeah, he's popular with the fans. He's a card. He's a card.
Yeah.
I always try to run him down to get him on the podcast, but we were blessed, man, in the 160 episodes we did to really like reach out and get some dudes, even some dudes, man, who don't even really like to do a lot of press and interviews. Dude, like you'd be hard pressed to go on YouTube right now and Google an interview with Greg Haugen, man. But we got him audio and video. If he does come on your show, he'll usually just be video. I built like a pretty good rapport with him, and you might remember him fighting Julio Cesar Chavez when he famously said that Julio's opponents were all Tijuana cab drivers. Yeah. That was his line.
Yes.
And then he did get the shit beat out of him for it. So, I mean, you know, ultimately, but back then, man, nobody was beating Chavez at that weight.
Right.
He was a monster. Yeah.
You had Costa Zoo on there, right?
No. I wish we did. I was trying to run down Costa Zoo. I'm trying to think of who you might be thinking of, but I wish.
I could have. Yeah. Who am I thinking of then?
Because we had a lot of. I mean, we were fortunate to have a lot of legends on, but we also give a platform to a lot of guys that I think you'll look back on the episodes, and then you'll see who wins belts here in 2025 and 2026. We got a lot of guys who are going to be turning that corner and really, because nowadays, man, you don't have to have 25, 30 fights in before you're fighting for a belt. Nowadays, every weight division's got fucking 4 and belts, and then interim champions and all this bullshit, man. It's crazy.
Yeah.
You got 8 guys walking around saying they're the champ at 140, you know, like,
right.
It's a little bit nuts. I think they ought to go back to one belt and like really making these guys really fight the guys that are in the rankings behind them and not making these guys wait. And if you're number 1, you should want to fight the number 2 guy.
Right. The best should fight the best. There shouldn't be that's why Lennox Lewis and Mike Tyson took so long. There was the waiting and the not wanting to fight in the division. Yeah, that's.
As a boxing fan, do you think the advent of technology, this is more of a boxing question, the advent of technology has made it almost easier where I'm not saying these guys are cowards or whatever, by no means, man. But, a lot of times, man, it seems like they like to bicker and have more of a Twitter, / Instagram fucking war rather than actually get the big fights made.
It's definitely borrowed something from
too much talking.
WE. Absolutely. It's become, there's villains and, there's the heels, like and heroes, like, back, who was a villain in boxing between, the only guys that I could like mean guys that people didn't like, Aaron Pryor remember him?
He was great. I'm trying to get his son, Aaron Jr., on the show, man, for like the last couple of months we've been talking. A lot of times when I'm talking to potential guests, a lot of it is just schedule differences and finally being able to nail down a time. But usually in the meantime, I'm kind of, every once in a while touching base with him or whatever, man. But yeah, Aaron Pryor's son's a good kid. Haven't had him on yet, but.
So good. But people, he wasn't a salesman.
Yeah, he wasn't.
I think he was kind of a mean guy, but he was a fantastic. He beat the shit out of Alexis Arguello.
Ooh, careful, man. Back in the day, that would have been the Alexis Arguello puppet. Now I've added big teeth to him, and he's the Freddie Mercury puppet, man. But back in the day, man, he was the Alexis Arguello puppet. Man. Yeah, but then there was also that fucking business of Aaron Pryor having that fucking mystery water that was mixed up in his corner, though.
That's true. Yes, yeah. When they said no, not that one, and they gave him the other bottle. I loved Alexis Arguello, so that was tough for me.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, a gentleman too.
Ever have Ray Mancini on there?
I had Ray Mancini on, and I'm pretty close to having Alexis Arguello Jr. on. I don't think he ever fought, or he may have had a few fights or whatever, man. But just talking about his dad would just be like a thrill for me. Yeah, I had, dude, Boom Boom Mancini is one of those guys that you could literally sit there and talk boxing for like 5 hours if you had the time.
Oh, he was one of my favorites.
Yeah, a super guy, man. And I mean, he's fucking seen it all. And it's some pretty heavy shit, man. I've seen in past interviews, like where, like, obviously, man, it's dead and buried, man. So I tried to go very light on the stuff about him killing a man in the ring, man. But that's heavy to live with too.
I don't think he ever was the same.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think at the end of the day, when those guys are selling a fight and they argue back and forth and push and shove a little bit leading up to the fight, a lot of it is just cutting weight, being a little chippy, and selling the fight. But afterwards, it's usually all love, though.
Absolutely. I saw that fight live.
What one?
The one against Duk Koo Kim.
You were there live.
Not. I was it was like Wide World of Sports or something. It was like during the day.
Yeah, the good old days.
Yeah, because I remember it was light out at the play. It might have, because the whole one of the issues with that is that they couldn't hear the bell. I think that fight might have been outside.
It was,
and it was light out. It wasn't like illuminated from the lights. Like, I think it was like a daytime fight.
Yeah, a pretty lousy job by the ref then, but probably not as conspicuous as the one we talked about earlier with Tommy Morrison, man, eating those fucking 10 unanswered fucking punches, man. But the Dooku Kim dude, man, he was really fucking finished at the end of that previous round, and he took a lot of shots, man. And then Ray came out and hit him with a lot of shit in the beginning of that next round.
Yeah, and it was late. Like, they were
the end. Yeah, they were like in the 14th round or something.
Yeah, like that was a different time when fights went that long, you know.
I'm glad he got to have that kind of like that moment though. Like, he did eventually like meet like they had a whole thing on YouTube about him meeting the surviving family.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I think it was pretty cathartic for him. He had him to his house like for dinner, and they talked, and they, obviously, like, you could tell, man, when you're talking to a guy like Boom Boom Mancini that he's really a true ambassador for the sport. You know what I mean? Like, he really takes it seriously, man. And that's not what he's in there to do. He's really in there to compete and just beat you, man. But that's I'm not saying other guys it wouldn't have bothered them too, man. But he's a sensitive soul. You know what I mean? Like, despite the fact that he boxes for a living,
I think it took the killer out of him. Like, he got hammered by. Arguello beat the crap out of him, and Livingstone Bramble beat the shit out of him.
And then the guy that retired him was Greg Haugen, who I had on the podcast. Yeah, and Greg Haugen, admittedly, is a guy that's a tough little bastard, avoided by a lot of fucking people, man.
Oh, nobody wanted to fight him.
Yeah, he would just stand there and fucking brawl with you, man. So you would say probably. There would be new all-out war music, hopefully by the end of this year, but if not, early 2025?
I think we will definitely be recording at least an EP's worth of material by the end of the year. Probably something out, however long it takes to get it out.
And I know you've talked about the creative process with the guys or whatever, man. But, a big step is obviously like marketing, having an album cover, and even more importantly, like a great name for your album, man. Who's that dude to get put on? You guys all throw potential album names into a hat? Like, what do you guys? How do you guys figure that out? Who gets to actually name the album?
Mike, the singer, the guy that's been in it the longest. He usually has a couple ideas, and we kind of agree on one.
Yeah.
Pretty easy.
Well, we know the voting system can be manipulated. Is it voted upon?
it is voted upon, and it's double checked. And there's only 5 of us, so there's no.
There's no need for a tiebreaker.
Or there's not too many. We don't have too much voter fraud going on, so it's.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing.
It's on the up and up. Yeah.
Are you a guy that keeps an eye a lot on political shit, man? You don't have to say your views one way or another and make the interview about that. But like, are you somebody that really views what's going on politically? Because some guys just don't even give a fuck.
I'm somewhere between don't give a fuck and don't let it ruin my regular life.
Yeah, that's about where I am too. I think that's about where
those guys don't give a fuck about you.
Right.
Those guys aren't sitting around putting flags of me and you up on their front lawn.
It's true.
And,
yeah.
And
the funny thing is that's their first talking point, though, man. They always want to go right to, we want to do this, and this for the middle class. They
don't know we exist.
And then and then it never happens.
Right.
It's the upper crust of the people, man, that got it really, really good.
Yes. Yeah. I think we should unite more than decide on some figurehead who doesn't have our best interest in anything with anything. I think it's weird that when people don't have the same views on stuff, that we can't be friends on other levels. And it's, people are so hot on these topics that they're so marginally involved with, like
literally everything's a hot button topic now.
Yeah.
Fucking everything.
Yeah. Can't talk about anything. I miss being offended.
Yeah. I occasionally will come across those good on YouTube, those good like Dean Martin roasts, and those guys are really giving it to each other pretty good, man, about even about race and stuff when Red Fox is on there and stuff, you know what I mean? And it's crazy, man. They could all just laugh it right off. Nobody was bent about it,
Right. And that was personal stuff.
Yeah, nobody was getting up and going to slap somebody, you know?
Right. Right.
Who would have fucking thought you'd see something like that on the Oscars,
Oh
man?
my God.
Jesus Christ. And then the guy 20 minutes later, they give him an award.
Right. And he's at the after party.
Yeah. Mind blowing, man. That's the world we live in, man. It's spooky sometimes, man.
Yeah.
You got to feel it sometimes as a parent, man. Like my kids are grown now. You still got younger kids or whatever. But now I still feel that same pressure, even being like a grandfather. Like I feel like, fuck, I got to instill some old school shit in these kids, man. You know what I mean? It's the only way to fucking truly survive.
Absolutely. It's a scary world out there.
Yeah, it is. It's fucking like a survival of the fittest still. I think it always will be.
Yeah.
Is that the kind of shit that is that a lot of shit that like you know, do those kind of injustices enter into the fray? You think when your guy writes lyrics, is it stuff like that you feel like he's writing about? Because obviously you hear the lyrics, he prepares them, but like, you know, what's the meaning you take away from like what you think he's writing about?
I think he writes not super specifically about like topical things, but certainly about he's a history teacher, so there's a big background based in all the knowledge he has on of history and those kind of things, and kind of the struggles of man and the evils of man and temptation, and all of those wonderful things.
Yeah, he's coming from a good place. He's got a good wealth of knowledge.
Yeah, it's a good outlet because we all live happy lives and everything. So that's our people. People ask, you seem, you're a nice guy, and so how do you do this kind of thing? Because I have that. Because I have that little outlet. I have my football game.
Like, do people think if you're playing extreme metal music that you can't be a nice guy? They probably do.
People in my real world will say things like, oh, I can't see you doing that with your daughter and things like that. I'm like,
yeah, what does that mean?
I'm doing so much more than those little things. Yeah, I don't get it, but
I mean, geez, they're saying it like you're an axe murderer. I can't believe
right. Well, and then there's part of me that kind of likes that they don't understand it all. It's not for everybody, and
right. Good point.
It's our thing, and everybody's invited. But if you're not part of it and you think it's weird, that's cool. That's great. Go do your thing.
So I try to save this one like close to the end, man. I'll throw them both out to you, man. You're Mount Rushmore of artists all time, man. And then your desert island pick, man. You got to go to a desert island with one fucking album. But give me the Mount Rushmore first. You're Mount Rushmore of artists all time.
So what do I have? What do I get? Four. Okay.
I had to fact check that a couple of times on the Off the Couch Boxing when we'd ask about their Mount Rushmore boxers, and we had to have a viewer actually tell us where it fucking was. That was terrible. I didn't know what state it was in.
I'm glad that I did. I almost said 5, but 4. I'm glad I said 4.
And you know where Mount Rushmore is?
No.
See, a lot of people don't feel bad. Me and my son didn't either. South Dakota, apparently.
Oh yeah,
South
never would have guessed.
Yeah. I wouldn't have either. So you're Mount Rushmore, man, and this is subjective, man. This is obviously like your goats of music.
So it has to be Slayer, it has to be Metallica, it has to be Celtic Frost. One more.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
You're putting together a good mountain so far, though.
Yeah, who else?
Well, you talked up Iron Maiden earlier.
Yeah. Thanks. I was going to ask for some help.
I mean, I feel like,
I can stand behind that.
I feel like in the glowing terms you were speaking of them, man, you'd have no problem of them on a Mount Rushmore.
Yeah, I would say Black Sabbath would be close if there was space.
Yeah,
it would be. But I'm definitely Iron Maiden.
And then what about the desert island pick, man? You can only bring one fucking album with you, man. That's a toughie.
Yeah. Like you almost want to say something super progressive because it would take you, some like Tool album or something that would take you forever to figure out. But
Yeah, that or something that really runs the gamut of emotions. Like I don't know that I could go there and, you know, no offense to any extreme metal band. I don't know if I want to live the rest of my life with just Metallica or just All Out War. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
Right.
certainly no disrespect to what anybody does, man. But, you know, I'd want something that really can run, you know, through all the emotions. So I'm just not always, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
I mean, it's pretty easy for me. I don't know if I've ever answered on any episode. I guess because I haven't nailed it down to a particular album. I would just love to take his whole discography, man. But for me, it would be Prince.
okay.
I just love Prince. I just love. I mean, I've loved him since I was a kid. I'm a metal guy, man. But like Prince was that one dude that we could get away with. You know what I mean? Because he was.
I felt the same with like the Peter Gabriel Genesis stuff. Like
yeah, amazing.
It's like Dream Theater stuff, like the composition. So Desert Album. I mean, if we're talking in that genre, I could confidently say Lamb Lies Down on Broadway by Genesis. That album's nuts. Double album. Super
or even just or even just picking an artist, even per se, man, that you could just stand to listen to, like, you know, till the end of time if you're on this fucking island. Even just as a band, I'd be happy with Genesis. You know?
Yeah. You got a ton of stuff to pick from.
Yeah, I mean, but there's so many great legendary fucking bands, man. I mean,
how about what would be your least what would make you kill yourself on a desert island if you had to listen to it?
Well, I don't know any specific artist, man, but it would probably be that fucking techno. I had a dude that I worked with, man, who was really into that, and when I heard it, I kind of just always heard, you know. Okay. You know what I mean? It was just like, yeah, I thought of those guys like Night at the Roxbury bobbing their heads. You know what I mean? Like, right. You know, it just didn't do anything for me. I know people have raves to it, man. They drop fucking ecstasy to it. They have a fucking ball at those fucking things. It sounds like, but not my cup of tea, man. If I had to listen to that, I'd find a tree to hang myself on that island.
Okay, fair enough.
You? Would it be for you?
Chili Peppers. You
hate the Chili Peppers
with a passion.
Now, where does this come from? Now I gotta play armchair psychologist before I let you know, and before I let you go, and just find out where this Chili Peppers hatred comes from.
It's mainly the singer. That's ridiculous. That nobody ever told him that he shouldn't be a singer.
Now, are you just speaking on like antics you've seen him do from afar, or have you had a personal encounter with this guy?
Oh no, it's just as a non-fan. It's from afar.
You just see unbecoming behavior from him.
Yeah, I feel like when people say like they like see through it or something, or like they know what he's really about. I feel like I called his bullshit a long time ago.
Yeah. I think he might come from some creepiness too, man, because in Mark Lanigan's audiobook, here I get to crowbar it in again, how much I love Mark Lanigan's audiobook.
I like Mark Lanigan.
Yeah. Oh, his audiobook, man. I fall asleep to it so many times at night with him reading it in that Tom Waits style voice, man.
Oh, yeah.
That is a life that's fucking lit.
It was great.
I would forego a discography of anybody to go to the desert island with Mark Lanigan's audiobook. That's how much I fucking love this book. A lot of the book is great stories about him, unfortunately, sometimes doing drugs, but really having a hoot and a holler, man, with Kurt Cobain and Lane Staley.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of great stories about the partying and the heroin use and some really harrowing shit, you know?
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, there's some dark moments in there, man, but it is a fucking great book, though, man. Great book. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
What happened when grunge? When grunge first hit, man, did you like when? I know they hate that term, man, but when that Seattle sound really started up, man, in the early '90s, man, like, did you like that? Were you a fan of the bands coming out of there?
I was a fan of some of that stuff. I was already into like Melvins, so so that kind of sound, it was, I was more into like, the Soundgarden kind of metal-y stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, Soundgarden was the most metal, man. I think they sound the most metal. Them and Alice in Chains, I think, sound the heaviest.
Yeah.
And I'm not so sure, man, that that I'm more Pearl Jam fan than I was Mother Love Bone fan. I really would have liked to have seen like Mother Love Bone like really be able to sustain. I think that was the band that was really gonna. No disrespect to Pearl Jam, man, but they've done incredible things with their career too, man. But Mother Love Bone was special.
Yeah.
That band was going places.
Green River.
Yeah. I mean, Seattle's a hotbed for great music.
Yeah. That scared a lot of the metal stuff away for a while.
Yeah.
You know, those guys talk about like going into the record station or the record label, and you know, their you know, the warrant thing was the big thing on the wall, and then they'd go there the next month and it would be off, and it would, you know, they were making the switch.
Did you like hair metal at all? Again, a term that they probably hate, man, but were there any bands in there that you dug?
I liked more like maybe like the sleazier kind of stuff. Like, you know, if I was gonna like that stuff, it was more like the Rat or like the, you know, a little bit of the Guns N' Roses. I will maintain that I still think that Tesla is great, even though they're not really, that, you know, they were kind of in that, but those first two Tesla albums are great, excellent.
And they weren't really glammy from what I remember.
No, they were kind of, you know, for lack of a better word, a rock band.
Yeah.
You know, a hard rock band.
Yeah. Fucking jeans and jeans and flannel type of band. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Kind of looked like the grunge guys.
Yeah. Well, listen, man, I'm fucking glad that you made time to fucking do this with me, man.
Anytime.
You know, fucking again, man, we could just fucking sit here and yak all night, man. We're going on like fucking, I don't know, hour and 20 minutes. I don't know.
All right.
Something like that, man. But I always love talking to you, man. And you know,
it's a pleasure.
Yeah, as soon as the album's close to dropping, man, or when we got some shit to talk about, pop back on here. You know, I'll always love to have you back on, man.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, I appreciate it, man. It's good talking to you, my man. This is good conversation, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We'll be in touch.
Yeah, talk to you soon, man. Thanks, man. Right. Later. There he goes, folks. I might say his name wrong because I don't know if I clarified it. And I fucked it up the first time. Well, he said I said it pretty good the first time. And I did see my intro that time. That is Andy PIETROLUONGO. PIETROLUONGO. One of those is probably right. Andy will fucking school me on. Andy PIETROLUONGO, guitarist for All Out War. The last slab that they left us with of new music was 2023's Celestial Rot, which will fucking pummel your fucking face in, man. That's a Rexx Ruger guarantee. That'll knock the fucking, like the buck teeth right off the Freddie Mercury puppet. Heavy. Boom. Solid, right in the fucking face, man. Celestial Rot. And you heard him here say that the boys are working on new music. That's always fucking great to hear too, man. Like to even have something cooking by the end of this year. Sound like end of this year, early next year. I don't know. I took a couple edibles, so I'm edibled up again this episode, which I still thought went smashingly well. But and he's a good dance partner, man. Always great chopping it up with him. This is where the cool kids come to chop it up with Uncle Rexx and the Freddie Mercury puppet. I got to give him his props, even though he never fucking says a word, man. You know, hey, man, it's the loyalty of the partner. You know, it's not so much what he brings to the table. It's just the fact that he's there. Got my back. True soldier. But anyway, I enjoyed that episode, man. Thanks so much to Andy from All Out War. Always love chopping it up with him, man. Make sure to like and follow us on Facebook. I'm very pie-eyed right now. Full disclosure. And make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell on this page to stay tapped in with the coolest conversations, with the coolest cats. Right here on PodScum. You know it to be true. Search your heart. And you know what I always say when we end these things, folks? Remember to take it easy and keep it sleazy.